Hello everyone, today we covered the lesson on measurement. Now before we talk about measurement, let's remember what we covered last time. We said that sometimes in a language program we want to evaluate some of the components of the curriculum and then make decisions about it. This is evaluation, a process of making decisions in order to improve something. Now, because decisions are very important, we need to take them seriously and we need to collect information that help us make that decision. And for that purpose, we use assessment. Assessment consists in measuring the features that we're interested in by collecting information from opinions, observations, etc. And sometimes when it comes to measuring people's knowledge, ability, or performance, we may want to administer a test, because a test is the only thing that can measure a person's competence, a person's performance. Now let's go to measurement then. Measurement is a very interesting concept because it is going to guide everything that we're going to do. We cannot make decisions in an arbitrary way before we make any kind of decision about anybody or anything in our program. We need to make sure that we have the correct information. So there are three important elements of measurement. First of all, the characteristics, and this has to do with the thing that we want to measure. The question is, what is the thing that we want to measure? The second element is quantification, and in this step we ask ourselves what units or scales we're going to use in order to measure the characteristic. The last element concerns the rules and procedures, because we need to make sure that we use the right instruments, that we take the right steps, and that we interpret our results in the most accurate and precise way. Let's illustrate this with an example. Imagine that we want to carry out a teacher evaluation to make decisions about what teachers should be promoted or which ones need to take some extra training or courses. In this case, we need to assess teaching competence. This is the characteristic that we want to measure. And then if we think about it, teaching competence is made up of different elements. First of all, mastery of the target language. This means that to be competent, a teacher must have a good level of the target language that he or she is going to teach. The second element will be the mastery of the subject matter. So this means that the teacher should be very knowledgeable about the course that he or she is teaching. Number 3, we can also include the mastery of language teaching methodology, which means that a competent teacher should be trained, very well trained, in the management of the different approaches, methods, and techniques for teaching the course that he or she is teaching. And we can also include mastery of information technology and materials, because of course, to make the class more interesting and meaningful, the teacher has to be able to learn to design and use a number of materials and technology. Another aspect to consider in teaching competence is classroom management. As we mentioned before, this refers to being able to organize all of the things that happen in the classroom and to be able to solve any problems that may arise. Last but certainly not least, ethical behavior. A competent teacher is also somebody who is punctual, who is responsible, who is organized, and who respects the students as individuals. Now, when we look at these elements, we can see that each of them also includes some other important elements inside. For example, when we mention the mastery of the target language, we can refer to the level of language proficiency, first of all, but also to the adaptation of the language that the teacher uses to address the students according to their level. That means we don't speak in the same way to beginning students than to advanced students. Another example would be ethical behavior, which can be divided into punctuality and regular attendance, for example, and also responsibility and organization, and finally, respect and concern for the students. So, this is the first element of measurement. First of all, the characteristics. We need to define the thing that we are interested in measuring. We need to define it very clearly, and this is the first example. Now you're going to have a little task on Classroom, and we're going to be discussing this in class. Thanks a lot for your attention.